Welcome to Inspire. My name is Rich DuBose. I'm the Director of Church Support Services / Creative Ministries for the Pacific Union Conference, and we're here to celebrate the creative arts and to talk about how we can use them to bring good to life and to help tell God's story. There are so many people out there who are gifted in different ways, and they're passionate about what they do. And here on this show, we're going to celebrate this by interviewing these individuals and letting them talk about what they do, their passions. My cohort, Greg Evans, is here with me. And
hi, Rich.
Hi. We're so delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
I've known Greg for quite some time, and he and I have worked together on a number of projects with Inspire. And this is our first show, which we hope will be a series of programs that we present. And we're going to interview a lot of artists and have a lot of fun.
Yep.
Greg, tell us about our first guest today.
Well, I'm really excited about our first guest. Robin McMunn is someone that I've been friends with for a long time. Now, we haven't seen each other in a very long time, but Robin and I were classmates at Glendale Adventist Academy for a number of years, and I won't share how long ago that was. I'll spare all of us that. But Robin, I know that she has a passion for photography in a very specific type. And one of the things that happened to us as we were going through high school was that one of our local youth pastors arranged that a scuba diving instructor would come and teach any of us that wanted to come get certified as scuba divers. And Robin and I took those classes together. I believe it was Diver Dave Johnson.
Dave Johnson.
Yeah, if I recall that. And we went through that together, went on a couple of dives together. I've been a very minor recreational diver, don't do it very often, and have done that a little bit in my life. Robin, on the other hand, really developed a passion for that. And I'm going to let her talk more about that than I. But Robin, the difference between you and I with scuba diving is really vast. I took it and I did it occasionally. You have really turned it into a lifelong passion of yours. Tell us, when did that happen immediately? Did it take some time? Mm-hmm. Was it something you just instantly bonded to?
It really did take effect immediately, Greg. Yeah. And as soon as I was old enough, I became an instructor. I have no idea how many dives I've done total, but I know in the last 10 years, I've been able to dive a lot because our children were finally all off to college safely, etc.
Gave you more time with the empty nest, huh?
Yes,
yeah.
And I filled it right up, and I've done over 1,500 dives in the last decade.
Wow.
And I've been diving again recently, just the last 4.5 weeks. I've been able to get out a lot, and it feels so good. Mm-hmm. And it is truly my happiest place on earth. And every time I go underwater, I immediately thank God for the wonder that you see as soon as you put your face in the ocean.
One of the things that you have done so well is documenting that wonder with photography. Mm-hmm. Underwater photography is not easy. I had a camera at one point, and everything's blue because the way light goes through water, it just doesn't transmit many of the wavelengths that we see visually. And so you really have to go to some lengths to capture that accurately. And you, as I have seen the art that you do, just do that terrifically. And that's why when we were looking for guests on this show, I told Rich, I said, we have to get Robin. She documents God's creation that very few of us see in our everyday lives.
Very blessed to get to see it.
Tell us a little bit about your equipment.
Okay.
I see we've got some real sophisticated stuff in front of us here.
I brought this little camera, which is what I started using in 2010. It's a little point-and-shoot camera, as you say, and it has an internal flash. And I actually took on the monitor over here with the pictures, you can see the right-hand one is a horn shark. It's a baby juvenile horn shark. And the middle picture is a moray eel. And these are were both shot at Catalina with this little tiny camera. And I was very happy with those results. And those pictures hang in my special room at home where I keep my underwater photography. The other picture is a little coconut octopus, and that was also taken with this camera, and you're looking at a canvas print. It doesn't show up real well, but it's one of my favorite pictures. And that's a little coconut octopus from the Philippines. And after my first trip to the Philippines in 2010, I upgraded to this unit. And this is a digital camera housing, and I use a Canon 7D, and you've got 2 strobes, and you have a video light that is very bright for spotting things and focusing, and then you use different lenses and all that. It's very technical, but it's fun. So if we can switch to the pictures that are on the PowerPoint, you can see a couple more. Oh, I think I have to do this, maybe. I'm not sure. There it is. So this is the California Garibaldi, and it's our state marine fish. And this was taken at Catalina. So that kind of concludes my California pictures for the day. But I have lots from the Philippines. And I just love diving in California. It's my second favorite place to dive. But my very favorite is the Philippines.
Really?
So.
Where at in California do you like to dive?
I really enjoy Catalina. It's close. It's easy to get to. Laguna is still a very favorite spot.
And you live near there.
I do. And I know, Greg, that during our class we went to Shaw's Cove. And for the
did,
longest time,
yes.
that was the only place I thought you could dive in California, because I was 15 at the time. And I knew how to get there. So it was a
Yeah.
favorite spot. But it
Yeah.
still is. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful dive site.
Do you go by yourself, or do you go with groups?
I do. You're supposed to, you should always take a buddy. But my buddy is my camera. And so, but I dive off of a boat almost exclusively. So, yeah.
What does it do for you spiritually to go down there?
Oh, spiritually, it's just so freeing. And just to feel, I just feel at one in the water. It's really where I feel the most comfortable on earth. It's hard to fall and trip and things when you're underwater. You just swim along slowly. And just like I said earlier, God's creations are just, I just never see anything on land that I see underwater. So here's a picture of the wide angle in the Philippines. There it is. And that's a gorgonian. It's a very simple creature, and my dive guide is in the background. And I'll switch, and this is another simple creature. I'm sort of going to move these pictures up through how complex the creatures are. So this is a Christmas tree worm, and they bore into corals, and there's lots of different colors, and they're just real pretty and fun to photograph. This creature is about 1/4 of an inch tall, so this is definitely macro
my.
photography.
Okay.
And then here we have a polyclad flatworm. This was a fun picture to capture because he was crawling along the sand and all of a sudden just lifted up and started swimming. I try really hard not to disturb creatures, not to touch them. So I did not lift this worm up, and he did that all by himself. This is moving into the nudibranchs. The nudibranchs are like a sea slug, a pithobronchs. And they have the 2 rhinophores in the front. This one is a marionia. And you can't really see their their bronchial plume in the back, but the next one you can, and that's its lungs. This is a ceratosoma. It's just so beautiful and colorful, so many different colors. And the dark blue, roughly at the bottom, is its egg ribbon. So it's laid eggs, and it's very colorful. This is one, they come in a lot of different colors, but I've really enjoyed this species. These are Rhisbeckia chirones. They are trailing nudibranchs, and there you can see its bronchial plume in the back. And the bronchial plume is its lungs, and it's how it respirates. And they're outside the body, nude branches, nudibranch. This is another nudibranch that, again, was crawling along the sand and lifted up and started swimming. They can kind of flap through the water. And I got a beautiful picture that I really
Sure
like.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So isn't that the colors?
It's like a firework.
And this creature, like that, was probably about 1 inch in diameter at that point. So it's one of my favorites.
Wow.
Oops, sorry.
That's cool.
And then, okay, so we'll just keep going on here. This is a pygmy seahorse. And this is about the size of the end of a chopstick. They're very tiny. I cannot find them myself. The dive guide finds them, and they point it out to you, and then you hopefully get a picture.
So you hire a guide to take you down and
Yes,
to kind
they're
of show you the best
in the
spots.
Philippines. Yeah, you have one guide to 4 divers, and you get your turns, and it works well. But I wanted to say about this creature, look at the amazing colors that God has given us, and that this creature is completely camouflaged to the coral that it lives on. So it's just phenomenal. There's the red ones, and then there's also yellow ones. So it's very exciting.
And most of us don't even know this stuff exists.
Yeah, it's true. Here's a nice wide-angle shot of an anemone with its tomato anemone fish that have a symbiotic relationship with it. It's, again, wide angle in the Philippines. And here's the signature Nemo. This is actually a false
right.
clownfish. And there's the clownfish is very similar. It's a little bit different coloration. And then all the rest of them are anemone fish.
Send in the clowns.
So.
Let me ask you this. Have you figured out a way to share this with other people where, like, you maybe go out and make presentations or do things at church with it or community?
I do, certainly. Whenever I'm given the opportunity to share my passion, I always do. And one of my favorite things to do is to give children's story at church. I love that. And I do try to do videos. I have short videos of animal behavior. And then I can add some stills to it. So
would you like for us to let our viewers know that you might be available to come to their church? Or?
Yes, certainly. I do teach cradle roll every week, so it's kind of hard. I have to have a big lead time.
Some stiff competition there.
It is.
Yeah,
I love my
is.
babies. I do.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the show, we'll give our contact information, and
Okay.
viewers can contact you through us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just have a couple more.
Sure.
If we go back to the monitor, and this is a frogfish, and there's lots of different kinds of frogfish. They are ambush predators, and this is a little warty frogfish, and they get to be about 4 inches big, and they can change their color, their coloration. They put these sort of scabs, as you see on it, and they do that themselves to match their surroundings. And as an ambush predator, they just sit. This is a little painted juvenile frogfish. They will sit there very still. They have a little lure that comes out from their forehead, and they all of a sudden will engulf their prey. And they're the fastest eaters in the ocean, which I always enjoy. And then this is really the holy grail of fish. It's a rhinopia. And this is a paddle flap rhinopia, and they get to be, there's 4 different species of rhinopia. And they're fun to photograph. They're very interesting creatures. And again, they are ambush predators. They're also in the scorpion fish family. And they just sit there and they kind of rock back and forth. And then fish think that it's something dead, and then they can just engulf their food.
They're waiting for their next meal.
Yes. And it's a little lionfish, but it's a little juvenile. It was only about 6 inches across, and it just wanted to kiss the dome port of my wide-angle lens. So I just said, okay, and got some nice pictures of it.
This is really great, and thank you so much for sharing these shots of a world that we don't even think about on a daily basis. You know, there are a lot of people who take photos, but it's mostly on land, you know, and of the environment around us. But to see this whole other world that's not easily accessible.
It does take a lot of work, a lot of effort, and you do have to really love doing it. And all my photography friends, it's hard for people to not appreciate the wonder that God has given us. Amen. Because it's in your face right there. You can't ignore it.
Thank you so much, Robin. And we'll come back to where you can connect with her in a few moments toward the end of our show. But we're going to segue right now.
Okay.
And I want to talk with my cohort, Greg Evans, who is a singer-songwriter. Greg, you have been writing songs for a long time.
Yes.
You've played around the country at different venues. Many people are familiar with your music. Some of our viewers may not be. But when did you get started writing music?
Well, writing music actually took a while. I'd been playing guitar since I was 9 years old, after I heard the Beatles on TV, and so that was really the impetus that got me going. Mom and Dad, I want to do that. I want to play guitar, and to their credit, they started buying instruments for me at that very early age. And it really wasn't until my 30s that I started really seriously trying to be a songwriter. And I guess I had written a couple of lovelorn, after I got dumped by a girlfriend, maybe, as a teenager, probably, but nothing that would ever hear the light of day in front of anyone. But as I went through some struggles in my life in my 20s and came out of that and into recovery from some chemical dependency issues, I really, all of that was inside of me in terms of just what I'd been through, in the bad parts as well as the recovery part, it had to come out. And I think any artist will tell you that. As Robin does her photographs, that passion, she has to do that. It just is innate in all of us that are artistic. And so my music started to reflect those things, my life experiences, and as it related to my recovery and how God was obviously a major factor in that. Without him, I would not be here. And so that's really when I got involved with serious songwriting.
I know I'm a songwriter myself, and so I have my own kind of process that I go through to write a song. But just briefly tell us, how do you go about writing a song?
Well, it varies. Sometimes I will pass a billboard on a highway that has a saying on it that might inspire something. I might hear something in a sermon. I might hear one of your songs or someone else's songs that, I want to write about that topic too. And it's a number of things that kind of form the inspiration. And then at some point, it just starts to grow and develop. Some take years to finish. Others I've done in 12 minutes.
Wow.
And it just really is very unpredictable in terms of how that process goes. But there are tools that you learn to use at some point, and there are things that make a good song better, and a lot of things I've learned from other artists that I believe are better songwriters than I am, and I take some of the things that they do, and I think we all do that to a degree. We're inspired by other artists.
We can keep talking about it, but we want to hear some music.
Oh, okay.
And so why don't you go over there and get set up and
Okay.
do a couple of songs for us.
Alrighty.
And while you're doing that, Robin, I just wanted to mention how that, not only do we have the imagery that we can look at to celebrate, the gift of creativity that God has and that he's given to us, but then we have the soundtrack to go with it. Sometimes we can, use the music and put the imagery together, and it's just a beautiful package.
It is.
But
in a world filled with confusion and so many roads to choose, I find my own illusions. If I follow, always lose. And in my search for answers, there is one that I found. It's following Jesus. Heaven is where I'm bound. He's the only one who would die for you. He's the only one who really cares. And if you have dreams that have not come true, everywhere you look, he is there. When the world is all around mystery behind it all. If you have eyes to see, there's a peace that lies within you, and a love that sets you free. He's the only one who would die for you. He's the only one who really cares. And if you have dreams that have not come true, everywhere you look, he is there. Are you tired and feeling in a prison of despair? He will still believe in you. He will hear your prayer. He's the only one who would die for you. He's the only one who really cares. And if you have dreams that have not come true, everywhere you look, he is there. Everywhere you look, everywhere you look, everywhere you look, he is there.
Ben.
The church, it had a steeple, tall, straight, and proud, and the cross that stood upon it showed what it was about. The bell that hung within it was strong and made of steel, and when it told every hour was something you could feel. And when the town folk heard it, it gave a sense of pride. It was a place of refuge, it was a place to hide, and the church bell chimed one more time. Jenny was a young girl, alone and on the street. Her clothes were torn and tattered, there were no shoes on her feet. Running away from problems, looking for a place to hide, 'cause the grass was always greener over on the other side. She sold herself to anyone who would pay the price, and she dreamed of the day that maybe one would treat her nice. And the church bell chimed one more time. church bell, it chimed one more time. And every time she heard it, it made her start to cry, 'cause she thought there was no one there who would want her inside. But one day in desperation, she walked through the door. She was terrified and full of fear, wondering just who is this Lord. They took her in their open arms and said, "Here you've got a home." And with food and clothes they showed her she would never be alone. And the church bell, it chimed one more time. Church bell, it chimed one more time. The church bell got her to the door. It called her home. 'Cause every time she heard it, she knew there was a place to go. But the church is not the bell that tolls, nor the mortar, bricks, and wood. It's in the heart of each dear soul, trying to do some good. It's in the heart of each dear soul, trying to do some good. The church bell chimed one more time. The church bell, it chimed one more time. The church bell, it chimed one more time.
Amen.
Oh.
Wow, what a gift. Praise God. And there you have it. You've spent 30 minutes with us being inspired, hopefully, as we have focused on a couple of artists, individuals who are passionate about what they do and the gifts that God has given them. And we invite you to come back and join us again.